Elvis Presley became one of the most famous entertainers who ever lived. But to one little girl growing up at Graceland, none of that mattered. He was just Dad, the man who woke her up in the middle of the night to sing with him, who let her drive golf carts around the estate and break things, only to watch them somehow get replaced the next day. "There was no schedule with my father," Lisa Marie Presley once said. "No rules." And then, on August 16th, 1977, he was gone. She was 9 years old. From that moment on, Lisa Marie Presley wasn't just Elvis's daughter. She became the person carrying one of the most famous names in the world. And years later, even Elvis's grandchildren would find themselves living inside the shadow he left behind. This is what happened to the family Elvis Presley left behind. The day the king died, and a 9-year-old was left alone. August 16th, 1977. Memphis, Tennessee. Elvis Presley was found unresponsive in the bathroom adjoining his bedroom on Graceland's second floor. He was 42 years old. The official cause of death was cardiac arrhythmia, brought on by years of prescription drug abuse and the physical toll of a career that had consumed him from childhood to middle age. The world's reaction was total. Fans gathered outside the Graceland gates by the thousands. Radio stations stopped their programming. Newspapers ran headlines that felt impossible. The grief was global and it was genuine. But inside Graceland, something else was happening. Lisa Marie Presley, 9 years old, the only child Elvis ever had, was being told that her father was not coming back. In her posthumous memoir From Here to the Great Unknown, completed by her daughter Riley after Lisa Marie's own death in 2023, she wrote that she had always been worried about her father dying. She had sensed it in the way children sense things, not through facts, but through feeling. The pills, the entourage, the way he moved through the world as though he was already somewhere else, part of the time. After his death, she went back to Graceland only once to go upstairs, to the bedroom where he died. The family maid Nancy Rooks accompanied her. Lisa Marie went to his closet. She stood quietly, looked around for a few minutes, and then reached in and took one thing: a black and white baseball cap. She walked out and never went upstairs again. The world lost a legend. Lisa Marie lost her father, and those are not the same kind of loss. But losing Elvis Presley was only the beginning of what was coming. Growing up inside the most famous house in America, Lisa Marie Presley's childhood was unlike anything most people could picture. She was born February 1st, 1968, at Baptist Memorial Hospital in Memphis, the only child Elvis and Priscilla Presley would ever have. When her parents separated in 1973, she began splitting time between her mother in Los Angeles and her father at Graceland. Those visits to Graceland were, by every account she ever gave, the center of her world. Elvis was on rock star time, sleeping through mornings, alive at night. Lisa Marie adapted. She drove her own golf cart around the estate. She raided the kitchen for dessert at breakfast. She sat outside the jungle room while her father recorded, watching the red recording light and understanding instinctively that the silence around it was sacred. Graceland was like a fun house, she said. No matter what you did, no matter what you broke, it would somehow miraculously get replaced within 24 hours. But it was also deeply unusual. She grew up inside a bubble that very few human beings have ever inhabited. The immediate family of the most famous person in the country. She could not go anywhere without people knowing who she was. She could not make a mistake without it meaning something larger than the mistake. Before she was old enough to understand fame, it had already defined her life. And when Elvis died and she inherited his entire estate, a trust that would not officially transfer to her until she was 25, the bubble did not burst. It simply changed shape. Now she was not just the daughter of Elvis Presley. She was his heir, his legacy, the living continuation of a story the world refused to let end. She inherited a world she never chose, and the weight of it would follow her for the rest of her life. The life she tried to build, and everything that kept pulling her back. Lisa Marie Presley tried, across 4 decades of adult life, to build something that was recognizably hers. She married 4 times. Her first husband, musician Keough, was the father of her 2 eldest children, Riley and Benjamin. That marriage ended in 1994. 20 days later, she married Michael Jackson, a union that shocked the world and lasted 2 years. Then Nicolas Cage for 108 days. Then guitarist Michael Lockwood, with whom she had twin daughters Harper and Finley, born in 2008. She released 3 studio albums, To Whom It May Concern in 2003, Now What in 2005, and Storm and Grace in 2012. To Whom It May Concern went gold. She was a genuine musician with a real voice and a specific emotional range. But every review, every interview, every headline circled back to the same point. She was Elvis's daughter. Whatever she built, the world appraised it through that single fact first. No matter where she went, a close friend said after her death, people still saw Elvis first. She knew it. She said it herself, with a kind of weary honesty that defined her public voice. "I'm a tabloid queen, princess, whatever you want to call me," she told Rolling Stone in 2003. But beneath the headlines was something the tabloids rarely captured. A woman who genuinely loved her father, who felt his absence every day of her adult life, and who was simultaneously trying to honor that love and escape the weight of it, 2 things that turned out to be impossible to do at the same time. The Presley name opened doors few people could imagine, but it also came with a pressure few people could survive. And in the years that followed, that pressure would find its way into the next generation. When the shadow reached the grandchildren, Benjamin Storm Keough was born October 21, 1992, the grandson of Elvis Presley, the son of Lisa Marie. The boy, everyone noted, looked almost identical to his grandfather. The resemblance was striking and specific: the jaw, the eyes, the particular quality of stillness in his face. He was aware of it. He was aware of everything it implied. Benjamin struggled. He struggled with addiction, alcohol, and he struggled with the weight of a name and a face that the world connected immediately to a legend he had never known personally. He had been raised partly within the Church of Scientology, and later said the experience had damaged him. He sought help. He went through rehabilitation without sustained success. In the weeks before his death, he sent his mother a text message. "I think something's wrong with me mentally. I think I have a mental health issue." On July 12, 2020, Benjamin Keough died by at the home he shared with his mother in Calabasas, California. He was 27 years old. Lisa Marie was devastated in a way that went beyond what anyone around her knew how to reach. "She is completely heartbroken, inconsolable, and beyond devastated," her representative said. A friend described her in the months that followed as living in a thick, unhappy fog. She kept Benjamin's body at home on ice for 2 months, unable to let go. He was eventually buried at Graceland alongside his grandfather, the man whose name and face he had inherited and whose shadow had followed him into a life he could not find a way through. Lisa Marie wrote about grief with the directness of someone who had experienced more of it than most people are given. "Grief is something you will have to carry with you for the rest of your life," she wrote. "You do not get over it. You do not move on. Period." She was writing about Benjamin. She was also writing about Elvis. The losses had always been connected. Riley, the one who carried it forward. Of all the Presley grandchildren, Riley, Benjamin, and the twins Harper and Finley, it is Riley Keough who has done the most visible work of carrying the family's story forward. And she has done it with a grace and a steadiness that, given everything she has watched her family go through, is genuinely remarkable. Riley was born May 29, 1989, the eldest grandchild of Elvis Presley. She grew up watching her mother navigate the specific burden of being the king's daughter. She watched Benjamin struggle. She was the one who told Lisa Marie that Benjamin was dead in the early morning hours of July 12, 2020. She is the one who, when Lisa Marie died suddenly in January 2023 at the age of 54 from cardiac arrest following complications from bariatric surgery, finished her mother's memoir, From Here to the Great Unknown, using the audio tapes Lisa Marie had recorded, narrating the audiobook in her own voice. She became the sole owner of Graceland. She became the keeper of the estate, the legacy, the archive of everything Elvis left behind, and everything Lisa Marie built and lost and tried again to build. As an actress, she has built a career entirely on her own terms. She earned Emmy and Golden Globe nominations for Daisy Jones and The Six. She co-directed War Pony, which won the Camera d'Or at Cannes. She dismissed the suggestion that she was continuing her grandfather's legacy, with a directness that her grandmother Priscilla would have recognized. "I wouldn't put that pressure on it," she said. "It's its own thing to me." And yet, when she watched Austin Butler play Elvis in Baz Luhrmann's 2022 biopic, she started crying 5 minutes in and did not stop. "There's a lot of family trauma and generational trauma that started around then for our family," she said. She described it as feeling honored that the filmmakers worked so hard to capture his essence, and also protective. You're protective over your family. That is Riley Keough in one sentence, the granddaughter of Elvis Presley, building her own life on her own terms, while remaining, always, inevitably, protective of what the name means and what it cost. Decades after Elvis's death, his family was still living inside the shadow he left behind. Not trapped by it, but never fully free of it either. What the Presley name actually became. Graceland is still standing. More than 600,000 people visit it every year. Elvis's voice still plays from speakers in rooms where Lisa Marie once drove her golf cart and broke things and watched them get fixed. Benjamin is buried in the meditation garden, next to the grandfather who died 9 years before Benjamin was born. Riley tends the estate. The twins, Harper and Finley, now teenagers, are growing up in the specific awareness of what their surname carries. Priscilla Presley, now in her 80s, is still present, still interviewed, still the matriarch of a family that the world has never stopped watching. The Presley legacy is not simply a catalog of music and a white-columned mansion in Memphis. It is a family that has been trying, across 3 generations, to live normal lives beneath an extraordinary and permanent weight. A 9-year-old who lost her father in 1977 and spent the next 45 years trying to grieve him privately while the world claimed him publicly. A grandson who looked so much like the legend that the resemblance became its own kind of pressure. A granddaughter who owns Graceland and won a Camera d'Or and finished her mother's book and still cried 5 minutes into a movie about her grandfather. The family survived. But the emotional weight of the legacy never disappeared, the shadow that never lifted. Elvis Presley gave the world unforgettable music. Decades after his death, his voice and his image and his name remain everywhere, on album covers and bumper stickers, and the walls of diners, and the set lists of tribute bands playing county fairs in the middle of summer. But for the people closest to him, fame became something far more complicated than a legacy to be proud of. Because behind one of the most famous names in history was a family trying to live real lives beneath an extraordinary shadow. A daughter who loved her father with a completeness that never dimmed and a grief that never fully closed. A grandson who carried his grandfather's face and could not find a way to carry the weight that came with it. A granddaughter who is still, carefully, deliberately, on her own terms, deciding what the name means and what she is willing to do with it. And even today, the Presley name still carries both the glory and the weight of Elvis himself, inseparably, forever. Do you think growing up with a name like Elvis Presley's is more of a gift or a burden? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe so you never miss another one.